know about you, but 2025 was heavy and it stretched me in ways I was not prepared for, but it is the reason why I'm showing up in 2026 differently. In this video, I'm sharing with you guys some of my biggest lessons I learned in 2025 that I am carrying forward into 2026. And of course, I want to hear from you. So in the comments, make sure you guys let me know some of the biggest lessons you learned so we can all learn from each other and be better and do better in 2026. 2025 taught me very quickly that I can't emulate what other people are doing. As much as I want to sometimes, I cannot. One of the things that I did not think about when I was planning out my 2025 goals was capacity. I just knew when I was launching my podcast, I'm going to be like my favorites. My favorite podcasters release a podcast episode every single week, like clockwork. They may take off for the summer, maybe a month, may take off for the last month of the year for the holidays. But besides that, every single week they were releasing an episode. I quickly learned I cannot do it every single week cadence because I do not have the same time, resources, or teams and support that my favorites have. People that I listen to and watch on YouTube all the time, they do podcasting full time. I do not. I have a full-time job. So I had to understand my capacity. So the biggest takeaway for you, for me in 2026, when we're planning out our goals, is we want to think about our capacity because that helps us realize what we can actually do, and it'll help you determine your level of consistency. Releasing every week for pretty much what we'll take out some months for breaks, 42 weeks out the year is not feasible. That's not a level of consistency that I can maintain. Releasing 8 episodes per season, that was a level of consistency that I can maintain. And so I quickly learned it's all about understanding your capacity. That sets the tone for your level of consistency. And consistency for me and for you and those that we admire is all going to be different. I had to learn what my level of consistency looks like. It's going to be different from everybody else, and that is okay. So that was my biggest takeaway that I want you to take with you in 2026 as you're planning out your goals. Take inventory of your capacity, understand what you can and can't do, what you have the room to do, and then move forward that way. 2025 also taught me the importance of balance and joy in the midst of staying informed. I thought I was going to lose my mind because I became so overconsumed with the news. Y'all know what happened last January, and it was headline after headline after headline, and I found myself doom scrolling all the time. And because I knew people that were directly impacted by everything that was happening, I was just overconsumed with information and the news, and I just felt a sadness in my spirit that I just wasn't myself, and I knew I wasn't myself, and it was really impacting my mental health. I remember I went out with some friends last summer. We went to dinner, and they had a DJ, so we're eating dinner, and then afterwards turned to a party, and we're laughing and smiling and dancing. And my friend tells me afterwards, I just love seeing you like that because I feel like I haven't seen you like that in a while. Like she felt like that me had been missing for a long time. And she was right because I was just so sad and overconsumed with all the news. And so we hear it all the time. Joy is an act of resistance, and it's important to stay informed because that's how we can show up for our communities. That's how we can push back against all the negative things that are happening, the illegal things that are happening. But it's also important that we don't let the craziness happening in the world steal our joy. So this year in 2026, let's figure out what's going to make us joyful. Curling up, reading a book, going to the beach. Maybe that's having adventures with family and friends. I know one of my friends and I, the end of December, we had a calendar out and we had placed on there the things that we wanted to do throughout the year, whether it's travel, whether it's going to some annual events that always come to our area. It was like figuring out and scheduling things that we actually enjoy so that we can make sure joy is on the calendar and we have some balance from navigating the craziness. So definitely, joy is non-negotiable in 2026. Now, this next lesson stopped me from spiraling in 2025 because I really thought I wasn't doing enough until I had a conversation with one of my friends that changed my perspective on everything. So I low-key crashed out probably around April, May of 2025. I went out with my homegirl and we're out to dinner and I'm going on and on and on about how I feel like I'm not doing enough. There's so much cruelty and injustice and all these bad things are happening. And when you're an empathetic person living in a world that feels cruel, it's very hard because you feel like you want to save everybody. And if you can't save everybody, you feel like you're failing. So I was going on and on and on. And when I was done, my friend goes, if everybody focused on what they were supposed to be doing, the world would be a better place. And what she really meant was basically we all have gifts and talents and things that we're passionate about. And it is our job to go all in on those things. I think sometimes we feel like resistance has to be this big, grandiose gesture. Like we have to like put it all out there, do these big things that make so much noise. In reality, taking small actions really leads to big impact. And so one of the things I learned last year was like, yes, I share information in my newsletter. I keep my community informed. I amplify small Black business owners. We know Black business owners don't get a lot of funding. A lot of their businesses are bootstraps by themselves. They rely on family and friends and crowdfunding. And so they need their community to shop, not just support, but to shop them, right? I host community events to support nonprofits. And so I really had to lean into, yes, you are playing your part in this world to make it a better place. So to you, if you're like me and you felt like a lot, last year was just a lot and you felt like you weren't doing enough, think about your gifts. Think about the things that you're passionate about. For some people, that's going to be protesting. There is a role for that. Someone has to be out there on the front lines protesting. For others, that's going to be donating to mutual aid funds, volunteering at a church. That's going to be shopping small, shopping your local community. Like we're, pulling money. We saw the Target boycott has been going on for a year. I'm very proud of us, by the way. But the Target boycott has been going on for a year. Pulling money back from corporate spending, shopping your local businesses. For other people, that's having the tough conversations with family. We all have a part to play. And if we all do our job, we can move the needle toward the communities and the society that we want to live in. So that was probably one of the biggest lessons I learned in 2025 for sure. I also had to realize and understand that a delay does not mean failure, and it doesn't mean you're not moving in the direction you're supposed to be going. So that's probably a big lesson for anyone who's starting something new. When I launched the podcast, I'm a type A. If you're a type A, please let me know in the comments. We in this together. We have a plan. We know how we want things to go. But when you're launching something new, when you're relying on the workings of other people, like it's not just you. You have guests, you have editors, you have so many people play a part in the success of your podcast. Stuff's not going to always go the way that you plan. And that doesn't mean you're not going in the right direction. That doesn't mean you're failing. It's just not going to go as planned. I think when the podcast launched, it launched maybe a week or two later than I wanted to. We had tech issues. I had rescheduled an interview 2 or 3 times, and then we finally get on virtual. The tech doesn't work. So we had to reschedule again. I've had to reschedule 3 or 4 times with other guests. Sometimes editing took longer than expected, so another season was launched later. All of the things can happen, but I had to remind myself, like, life just happens. Life sometimes happens, but that doesn't mean I'm not going in the right direction. That doesn't mean I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. And understanding that takes a lot of pressure off of you to feel like it has to be perfect. Because it's not going to be perfect. Done is better than perfect. And so in 2026, I really want to lean into like, yes, it's okay to have a plan. It's great to have a plan, but just leave some wiggle room that things may not go the way you wanted them to, but that doesn't mean you're not doing something right. That doesn't mean you're failing. It just means life happened and you may have to pivot. You may have to adjust. You may have to change your schedule, and that's okay. So if you're type A, that is our challenge in 2026. We could have a plan, but we might have to just flow a little bit. We might just have to leave a little room for things to just flow how they're going to flow. 2025 had me asking the hard question, where am I settling in my life? Life is short, y'all. Life is too short to be miserable. I know that's something we've heard over and over again. And I don't know if this is something that came up for me because I turned 40 last year in 2025. And you started thinking about time. Like, yeah, you have time. You can, as long as you live in, you can do whatever you want. You can change careers. You can start something new. You can always have multiple passions. But it's just something about time that you start thinking like, all right, I'm 40 now. Life, the world is chaotic. What type of work do I want to be doing? What type of relationships do I want to have? And so I really started thinking about that and taking inventory of what my life looks like and what actions I need to take in 2026 for it to look better or different than it looks right now or how I envisioned, right? And so asking yourself that question is like, it really makes you think, what steps do I need to be taking? Because I know in 2025 and previous years, I would talk a lot about certain things I wanted to do and still haven't done them. Because I would talk a good game, but I still hadn't done them. So I was settling in some areas. And so 2026 is really going to be about taking the time to think, okay, how do I want my 2026 to end and look differently in December than it does now at the start of the year? So those are just some of my biggest lessons that I learned in 2025 that I'm carrying forward in 2026. But I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments, what were some of your biggest lessons you learned in 2025 that you're carrying into 2026? We can learn from each other, child. We all learn some lessons. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys in another video.